Welcome to the Nuclear Snail channel. This episode is about distressing knitted fabric. This question was actually just asked by someone in my Nuclear Snail community group on Facebook. The link is in the description below, as well as the link to my Patreon, which you should totally do if you're not doing it yet. Anyway, the question was how to distress knitted fabric. And indeed, the cold time of the year is upon us. And yeah, it's a good time to ask that. So here I have some examples of my own distressed or weathered knitted fabrics. Here is a bright example, this hat. Here is this other hat or beanie in a darker tone. And here we have, I think this one was actually done by Elliot back in our earlier days. It's not perfect, but it's still very, very decent. And if you do something like this, yeah, it's very nice. You can do a bit more if you want, but this is already pretty good. So, especially this part. So, as with any fabric, this entire thing boils down to two simple things. Mechanical distressing is number one, and for that I'm going to be using this dense shoe brush. I made an entire separate video about this little beautiful tool, and if you didn't watch that, you should watch that video. And we're also going to be using fabric paints, which I will produce later on. Yeah, let's just start with mechanical distressing or mechanical abrasion. Now this right here, as you can see, has a nice torn edge, and especially down here on the bottom part there is this nice torn fabric combined with the dark paint here, which is spoiler, that's the magic combination. So how do you do this? We actually have this everywhere. We have a bit of this around the neck area, and we have that on both sleeves. So just to do it together, I'm gonna cut this straight, which is something when you are done roughing out the design of your costume and you say, I want a sleeve that is cut off, you might end up with something that looks just like, oh, beautiful edge, looks just like this. And this is okay-ish, but you know, it looks, actually it's not, never mind. Looks kind of lame. What we want to do is a nice frayed edge. So take this. If you're less experienced than me, then take a thick glove. On your other hand, something very, very protective, especially on the back of your hand. I'm just going to be holding this a bit further away because going fast with this especially, and especially if you're a beginner, you're just going to scratch yourself. So don't. And I'm just going to go here at the edge. And you see it's kind of stretchy, it just kind of tries to get away from me, but ain't no getting away from the dense shoe brush, baby. And I'm gonna repeat this process a bunch of times until I'm happy with the result, which I'm not yet whatsoever, because I've just started. But you're gonna sit with me through it in real time, because I ain't editing this video for the sake of it being on YouTube faster, so you can watch it faster. So here you see that as I go about my business, and let me zoom in on this, I'm starting to get some holes, and this is exactly what we want. Now, what we don't want is holes all over the place. As you can see, Elliot has wisely decided on this piece to have, in high-stress areas such as the neck, there is some mechanical distressing, and also he just pretty much turned the bottom of it into spaghetti. That's a conscious design choice. What you shouldn't do is like one hole here, and it has evenly spaced holes all over the whole thing. There is also some distressing, by the way, on this non-woolen part here, this reinforced shoulder part of this army pullover. So, was it Elliot who did this? I think it was, yeah. I was probably way too lazy back then to do this entire bottom spaghetti like that. So it has to have been Elliot. Now you can leave like kind of large hole loops like this, or you can continue and tear the whole thing off. And again, as I'm speeding up, I'm very careful not to poke my hand or scratch my hand. And again, wear a freaking glove. You're gonna hurt yourself otherwise. I just continue here, and it takes a bit of force and it takes a bit of time, but that's all right. There might be also other tools to use, but I prefer this dense shoe brush for most things. Of course, a serrated knife can also be used. Have mine here. Yeah, but it's slower. I'll stay with the dense shoe brush. If you're smart, you can also vacuum off the excess wool that's collecting there with a vacuum cleaner, unlike me doing it right now by hand. So I just continue with this. And I go all the way around one time along the edge. I also will not only do it parallel, but I will also kind of, well, turn myself in the fabric, so to do it kind of across the grain a couple of times as well. And you see on these strokes I'm kind of just putting it down and then pulling with my other hand away from the brush rather than moving the brush. So just, you know, feel the fabric. This is kind of slow. I might want to use actually a technique that Elliot did show me, which is hammer distressing. And for that, let's take the big massive metal block right here. Sorry about not being on camera for a sec. Let's take this big block right there. There goes my light. Okay. Turn around a bit. Alright, doesn't look like much has changed, but let's fluff this a bit. Let's move this a bit around just with the hand. And we see that right here, especially on this side, we have these nice holes right here. Right, this is all from the hammering. And I think Elliot might have actually done it with the hammering rather than the dense shoe brush. I'm pretty sure he didn't do it with this. I'm pretty sure he has actually done it with a hammer. And there is quite a bit of dust flying around from this, so don't inhale this. So yeah, I'm starting to like the way this looks. I think we're done with mechanical distressing here. So hammering has done the trick. I just want to go up in this part just a bit, so I'm going to give it a few more strikes. Alright, that'll be it for me, that's good enough. Now I'm going to put on my gloves. And we're going to mimic what we also see here, which is a very common and a very smart thing to do at the same time. Where the mechanical distressing is, there also goes the dark paint. Unless your fabric is already dark, such as this dark blue beanie, in that case, well, just do the inverse. Just make it brighter. In terms of paint. The paint usually doesn't work if it has about the same tone as the thing you're trying to paint. So use a contrasting paint. So this was the part where we're working at, and you see I've consciously left this loop. As you go, as you do LARP, yeah, it's gonna tear off like this. You can leave it trailing, or you can tear it off, or like tear it off somewhere along the middle. I can't actually tear this really well right now. It's still, oh yeah, here we go. Here we go. All right. So I'm gonna take some fabric paint now. And this is gonna be just the undiluted fabric paint, and I'm just gonna go with my gloved hands instead of using any sort of a sponge. You can of course do diluted fabric paints or diluted acrylic paints or whatever. I'm just gonna do the fast and dirty way. So I'm just gonna be using this part to wipe my dirty painty hands. And I make sure to go all the way around, to flip it around, to go like this. And again, it doesn't need to be like you just removing a sleeve like this. It can be any other sort of, like, you could have just made a hole right here, rip it a few times, or hammer it a few times, and you'll get a nice hole, and then you can apply some paint around it. So I do remember saying something about doing it carefully and going slowly in the Facebook comment. Now the thing is, I did neither of those things here, because it is a knitted fabric, or it's a woolen sweater really, but I wanted some aggressive look. You might have something that is just, kind of like your grandma clothing. I don't know what the character concept was that of the person that was asking. Maybe it's something in a beige tone, in which case you want to go slowly and gently with diluted paints, right? This is not what I'm doing on this more aggressive military pullover here. And if the knitted fabric is even more coarse, but at the same time more soft, there's grandma sweaters, then you might want to really go much gentler than I'm doing now. Now, we have our pass of the black, and this already looks, well, just like the other side, really. This is the other side, and I actually did more here than on the other side to make it more aggressive, especially if you're doing it for the camera. Camera eats details, but even on, for other people present there on the LARP, this looks nice and well worn and destroyed. But I don't want to stay with that. Here is the sand-ish kind of tone, and I'm gonna take a bit of this, spread it, and do it in a couple of spots. I don't want to spread this evenly or semi-evenly. You see the black is kind of a splotch, so it's not really even, but it's kind of everywhere. But this stuff I want just more concentrated in a couple of spots. And this is exactly what I'm doing here. And just to top this whole thing off, here's some white fabric paint, and I'm using just, this one has been standing for a while. Shake it a bit. I'm not gonna be using any diluted ones this time. Just can't be asked. I just want a fast, brutal result here. So I'm using this white, and you see this is really soaking up the paint. So again, unless you're dealing with something that is really a bright, gentle grandma sweater that you want to work into your costume, which is a legit interesting design. Look how much this is eating. I'm just gonna freaking drown this part now in white. This is just, oh yeah, this is nice. Now that I've drowned this part, it's starting to look like what I had in mind. Yeah, because this soaks up a lot of it. Like a lot. So this is really interesting, and I'm actually gonna do just the same thing with this. I'm really gonna take a lot of this sand tone here and put it on some other spot and really let it soak in and smear it all over the place like this. Okay, so I'm gonna deglove so that I can handle my camera nicely and safely. And here is the result. I would say this looks pretty damn good. So we have some nice gradients, we have some faded effect here due to this white paint having soaked in. We have some color shifting going on due to that sand tone. And all of these work really well with this green. Now, again, for different fabrics, you might want something else. Like for this one, I never used black. I could, I guess, for a very, very subtle effect, but here I used kind of more of a brownish dirt color, very subtly, or maybe it was just this. And this one I mixed from different other tones myself, by the way. So don't ask which one exact it is. It's just something that I mixed different tones until it looked fine. And here you can see that I used a lot of white to generate this discoloration effect, while here I used no white, because why would I? This is beige, it is almost white. Here I just used, I also didn't use the sand tone, I used instead a lot of black. And before you ask which brand my paints are, it doesn't freaking matter, just get some fabric paints that are nice and liquid for distressing work, and some fabric paints that are nice and thick for stencil work. So, again, no white used here, but some different dilution levels of fabric paint. So something like mixed 1-to-1 with water, or just pure undiluted black in some spots of this to create some nice different tones and gradients. So again, here is our today's result. And if I put my arm through this, you can see this looks really, really cool. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, so I hope this short unscripted tutorial was to your liking and you learned a cool new technique today. This is no new information by any means, but I just figured, showing how I do it rather than just saying do this and do that was something that I didn't do in a long time, so it was about time again. Let me know in the comments what else you would like to see me do, and yeah, support me on Patreon, it's in the video description, and join my community group on Facebook, where people ask questions like this and sometimes get them answered, and you can also share your work and all that. And stay warm in the winter. I also have a video about staying warm while looking cool for the winter in your post-apocalyptic costumes. Until next time, bye!